with that, I think we're live. Maybe you can tell me if we're live, Mike. Are we live? Well, I can see a picture, so I think we are. But who knows? So if you are with us, say hello in the chat, and then I'll know that you can hear me. Oh, let me have a look at all the magic and see if it looks like it's moving. It does. It looks like it's moving. But who knows? So we've decided to start a little bit early. Make sure that we do not have technical woes. We do not want technical woes. Oh, Mike, is anybody there? So I go back and say I am. Hello, Curtis. Good to have you with us. Have you tried the new Affinity Designer beta? Oh, excitement. You can't beat software, new software. You absolutely can't. We this week have had a new beta of Affinity Designer for Mac and Windows, and Affinity Photo as well. So I promised that we'd look at something Affinity Designer-ish. So I've picked 2 new features, both of which I have needed this week, and we're going to look at those. As well as, actually I've got a running order. Should I show the running order? Right, I'll make the running order live. That'd be a plan, wouldn't it? Hang on, where's my mouse pointer gone? Come on, all the way across to the other side of the thing. There we go. Hey, fantastic. I can now see the running order. Awesome. Right, so I picked 2 features, Curtis. One of them I've been looking and waiting for ages, and it's halfway there. Let's just say it's halfway there. It does what it says on the tin. It could just say more on the tin. Second feature was something I was doing tonight, and you're looking at it right now. That slide was created in Affinity Designer. What feature, here's a good question, you know, like the loser's ribbons. What feature is shown in that slide that Affinity Designer does not support? There is your question for the night. Oh, and I need to send that. I know you know that because I was cursing that it didn't do it and now it does. But does Curtis know that? Does anybody else know that who is listening? Right, I just saw a message flash by then. Keeping the tickets as they are. May 25th, 9th, see you tomorrow. Awesome. Right, so that's coming, which means it isn't going to come in the middle of it. Yes, I was worried about that. I just sent somebody a text and I thought, oh, you idiot. They'll reply, and they'll reply in the middle of the demo. But no, she's just replied.
Disable it.
Not on the phone, does its own thing.
It's not your phone.
That's mine. Oh, I've got a message from O2. We're sorry for Thursday's network issues. We understand how important it is to you to stay connected, especially this time of year. You'll receive a credit for 2 days of your monthly, where's it gone? Of your monthly airtime subscription charges by the end of January. We're doing all we can to make sure this issue doesn't happen again. Luckily, I was at home, but you weren't. So all the stuff we'd planned for yesterday did not go well, but never mind. So, mobile device storage. Oh, what's that about, Curtis?
And that's the thing that it doesn't.
Ah, right. No. He's probably thinking, wonder what that is. Right. The issue is we were talking about adding storage space to our mobile devices. So how you would extend the storage on an iPad, an iPhone, or a Surface. And I've got some solutions here that you'll see on video. And Mike has a solution for his toy. Let's just say one of them is very much better than the other. And I'm not a happy bunny. And then you'll understand. So we're going to look at how to add extra storage to your mobile devices. The unboxing is something small that I bought this week, but it arrived today and I didn't open it. So it's there to be opened. CloudMounter is something. Are you subscribed to the newsletter, Curtis? If you are, you will know that that is our toy of the day in our advent calendar. I used it for a long time. It's very useful. And I decided I'll show it in relation to how we use it in MacBites, which is why it says the MacBites Mail. It's how I get my toys where they need to be to work. So CloudMounter is in the MacBites Mail. I'm sure we've got a link for it. Basically, it's a service that you install on your computer that lets you connect to a whole range of cloud services. And the reason I've got all kinds of stuff pinging here. The reason that we're looking at it now is it's one of these subscription things, which we hate subscriptions. But there's an offer on for a lifetime license for $19. So I'll show you how I use it, and then you'll know if you're interested in it. It's on offer for 2 days. The PowerPoint translator's nothing short of magic in silicon. It's amazing. So what we'll do early doors, shall we put that link in now, Mike? You could go and put that link in. We're going to link you to an app that you can download for free. And then later on in tonight's show, we're going to deliver a presentation.
This is the app.
Yes, the iOS app. There's an iOS app you can install on your iOS devices, and there's also a link to the Android app as well if you're on Android. We will talk in English, but you get to decide what language I won't say hear it in, but read it in. So hold that thought. That is an amazing demo. We've had such fun with that this week. So I decided to let Mike off and have that. So the link that's just gone in the chat is a link to a free application. I know it's Microsoft. Hold your incredulity. You install it on your iPhone or your iPad, and then or your Android device. Mike's going to find the link for that. It is in the Notion note. Get it all installed. You'll get to a point where it asks for a code, and the code it's talking about is a code that we will give you later, and that will hook you into our private presentation, and you will be able to see it, hear it, and participate. So if you're with us very early, get that installed now, and you will be able to follow along. If you don't want to install it, hey, it's Microsoft, but we'll explain why we're talking about it, because it's coming to Mac. It's coming to the Mac.
This person.
Go on, this person.
This person says it was a mistake.
What was? Oh, right. Both of us.
I presume so.
Oh, fair enough then.
Well, I'd like to know how I can follow him again. He'll have to follow me, won't he?
I have no idea. Deal with it later, dear. Deal with it later. Right, so Curtis is installing it. I hope the others who are with us or are watching do say hello. If you don't want to install it, hey, it's Microsoft. You'll be able to see it and sort of follow along, but it would be far better if it was in your hand and you were following along. So use those links and download that, and then we can all see if it works later. Then we're going to come on and we're going to look at Affinity Designer Beta. New beta out this week, shiny new icon, a couple of features I'm going to focus on. Then I said we've got a very short unboxing, and then we want your questions. We want to talk about what's important to you. So give us a heads up on that. Right, it's now officially 9 o'clock UK time. Oh, Mike's lost the app. This is a good start, isn't it? So hello and welcome. It's After Hours, episode 3. This is where we're slightly more chaotic than usual, which is pretty chaotic to start with.
I'm Mike Thomas.
Oh, yes.
And I'm here with my co-host.
Me!
You! And on this episode...
Oh, I haven't got the 3 things. No, I definitely don't want the 3 things. No, I've just gone through what we're going to be looking at. So, without further ado, we'll get on and look at it. That'd probably be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Yes.
It would, right. So we're going to start off with CloudMounter. I'm thinking how to show that. Right, it's already installed on my system. It runs up here. So first of all, I'm going to have to get you to see my desktop. I'm just wondering how much other garbage I've got running up here, because I've got all kinds of garbage, haven't I? Oh, and now that's upset and everything. Let's have a look, see how much garbage there is. Oh, you're going to love this. This is going to be fabulous. Okay, I'm going to get my desktop shared. So let's make sure that you can see my desktop. Whee! Right, you should be able to see my rather blue desktop. Right, CloudMounter. It runs as a sort of faceless app. There is an interface to it, but you don't actually need to see it very often. Hello in Florida. Hello. It runs in your menu bar, which I have got Bartender installed. So mine is hidden under Bartender. If you don't know what Bartender is, it's the thing that makes your menu bar not look like that all day, because that would drive you insane. Would certainly drive me insane. The one we're looking at is this one here that looks like a mountain. CloudMounter. So as I said, I've got it running. It's all configured, installed and working. If I click on that, you can see that I have 2 drives mounted, but they're not drives local physical drives. They are cloud services, and they are mounted on my system as drives. So I have OneDrive, and I have the MacBites folder or bucket on S3. So that's how it does it. Let me show you what that now looks like in here. So this is my Finder. And in my Finder, I have the CloudMounter icon next to OneDrive, and I have it next to MacBites S3. And these are really my live drives that are up there. Here they are. So the MacBites one just has 2 folders in it. It has newsletter assets and it has shows. OneDrive, of course, is my entire OneDrive. So I have all of these folders in it and all kinds of stuff going on. Although I use OneDrive less than I did. Now, one of the reasons, because you might be thinking, well, why don't you just install the OneDrive client? Well, the reason that I don't just install the OneDrive client is if I did, I'd only be able to access my OneDrive with it. I wouldn't be able to access somebody else's OneDrive. Good evening, Graham. Good to have you with us. We're talking CloudMounter. Wallet time, Graham. Wallet time. And the way Microsoft works, they give you access to 6 terabytes of free storage with your Office 365 subscription and a OneDrive client to access it with. But you can only access 1 terabyte at a time. You can only be logged into one account at a time. And to access all 6 terabytes, you'd have to log in and log out, and it would be a nightmare. CloudMounter lets you create multiple mount points for the same service. So if you've got 5 Dropbox accounts, add the lot. If you've got 6 OneDrive accounts, add the lot. Now, what I'm using it for, which is something that I don't know another way as seamless to do it as I'm doing it with this, is the MacBites stuff. The MacBites stuff is on an Amazon S3 bucket. An Amazon S3, you can access it via an FTP client like Transmit or CyberDuck. But then you've got to make the effort to actually go and log in and upload the stuff and then close the app down, and then you realise you've not set the properties and then you've got to go back into it. So it's just a pain. So I actually have the MacBites S3 bucket mounted all the time as a drive. So anytime I've got an image to upload that I'm going to put in the newsletter, I can just open that up and there they all are. So if you've been following along with our Advent mails, here are the headers that we've been using. And every day a new header gets added and it's made public and then it's referenced in the mail. And there they all are. But they're not on my system. These are on the S3 bucket. And there was today's little biscuits. So that's what CloudMounter does. Now I'm going to show you how we make that work. So I'll leave that open there and take you, like last time when we went deep into the bowels of MacBites, or MacBites Edit. Today, it's deep into the bowels of the MacBites mail. And we do that in Scrivener. And here it is. This is live. This is it. This is the real thing. There's today's mail. So if you should have had this mail about 10 minutes ago. So let me know in the chat if you had that mail 10 minutes ago. But how we put it together, I'm good with Scrivener, aren't I? Is how it works. It works, really. I'm good with Scrivener. Scrivener is a writer's tool, but I don't write novels with it. I do everything else with it, but I certainly don't write novels with it. So each scrivening or each node that you have over here in your binder, in fact, let me close that up and show you. I've got all the different things we send out mails to. So there's the MacBites list, there's my VIP list, there's Slide IQ, iBooks Author, and Mike's Excel Trainer. So if I open up the MacBites one, we have in here, there we go, all different things. We've got archives of one we've sent before. There's quirky things that we put in the mail. There was offers that we ran, the Advent promos we used to run, and then there's the main mail section. So if I open that up, you can see the upcoming mails. Oh, it's all organised, isn't it? 115, on the way. And then these are the mails we've actually sent. So some that we would have sent out for events like Gather Round, and that was telling you about Gather Round. So I create the mails in here. And we were looking at the one that went today, which is that one. And you'll see there's graphics in it. There's the graphic at the top, which is the biscuits. And then there's one for CloudMounter. And then further down, there's the after hours image. So I add the images into Scrivener. Now, obviously at this point, we need to get this mail out of Scrivener, preferably in a format that it's just a matter of copying and pasting to send it. Now, this is where the magic happens, because how I do that is I compile it. Let us know in the chat if you use Scrivener. And if you do, have you written your own compile formats? So basically it's an export, only in Scrivener it's called a compile. So I'll kick in the compile option, and I have actually written a special compile setting, which is called, it's a project format over here. So I've got one for MacBites, one for SlideIQ, one for the Excel Trainer, one for the VIP, and one for iBooks Author. So this is the one that I use when it's a MacBites mail. And it is written in code, right? So it took a lot to make it work, but now it works. It's magic. So all I need to do is make sure that I'm sending the right mail. And what it's doing is it's picking the one that's selected. So as long as it was selected, when I say file compile, I'm good to go. And then all I need to do is compile. Now it's going to save it to the desktop. No, we don't want it in documents. We want it in the desktop so I can see it. And it's got the right name because I've already done this once today. So we'll do that. And then export. Now, I'm going to minimise this and we'll have a look at what it's done. This is the folder it's created, so let's open that and have a look at it. All right, let's make that bigger so it covers that up. And what it's done is it's taken out the HTML of the email. It's taken out the header. So let's have a look at the graphics. It's taken out that one that was in the middle of it, and it's taken out the after hours at the end. Those are the three graphics that I need. And that is the mail. But if we look at that, that's not right. I wonder why one is missing, Mike. It wasn't missing before. I don't like it when one's missing. That's scary. Because we checked the mail and it was fine. Okay, I don't know why that's happening, but we're going to worry about that later. Right. So really what I need to do is get these three graphics, or whichever graphics I need that are in my mail, up into the ether, onto the internet, where it knows where to find them. That's what I need to do. And that's where CloudMounter comes in. I go down to, let's get it up in this one at the back. I go down to MacBites S3 and I open up the newsletter assets. And within there, I drag and drop them. So here is the one from today. So I'm thinking it's there, it's working. Why is it not working in the preview? But I'm going to worry about that later. Okay, so that was that one. And what others did we have? We had CloudMounter and one of the others. So let's sort by date and see if they're today. There's the CloudMounter one. And that's yesterday's, that's the VisiCal one. So that's all working. Let's do that one more time so you can follow along, but we'll do it with tomorrow's mail. Oh, you are seeing behind the scenes, aren't you? Because we're doing it with tomorrow. Graham's is missing in the mail. Graham, how did you manage that? Right, this is what I do. We have one here that says date Advent Day and there's an XX on it. That's my template. You can tell it's a template because it's got a blue dot on it. And I have a whole code thing going on down here. So the blue one means it's a template. So my first job is to duplicate that. I'll put another copy underneath. Then I need to put tomorrow's date. So I'll put in today's and then I'll change it till tomorrow. And it's day 8. So now I've got my framework ready for tomorrow's mail. Graham, you're going to be ahead of yourself with this one. Right, so I need to put a title in. So I have no idea what's happening tomorrow. We'll find out, won't we? So I'll put, we're back. We're back. Oh, how about the morning after the night before? After the night before. Right, and then there would be a subtitle that will go in there. Now, this is my image, but that was MacBites Day 1. So what I do at this point is just delete that. I have got some other text in here. This is just standard text, and then I go in and change it. You see at the bottom it says part 6, whereas it would actually be part 9. So I'll change that. Everything, the rest is fine, but I would put in whatever tomorrow's topic is just in text there, and I'd add in graphics as and when required. So I need to go and get my graphic for day 8. And my graphic for day 8, looking at where I am here, let's get a new tab. And my graphic is in my Advent mails. Here's my 1, 2, 3 up to 7. And it's in my hero headers. Look at this. How planned is this? They're all there for 24 days. It's a miracle. So tomorrow's is 8. Do you want a sneak peek? Of course you want a sneak peek. There's tomorrow's. It's a special one. I don't know if Kevin's with us, but if he's not, we'll keep it quiet. It's a special one for Kevin, who loves his Christmas trees and he loves his trains. So that's tomorrow's, day 8. Now, what I need to do with that to make that work is add it to the S3 bucket, which is here. So it will appear below that one. That's simple. Just drag and drop it. That puts it in the cloud. The next place it needs to be is in here so I can see it. And I'm just going to drag and drop it straight into Scrivener. And that's good as far as it goes. Have we got any more graphics? That's it. Simple, simple. How simple could that be? Then I'm going to compile it. So File, Compile. Make sure it's day 8. That's correct. Go to Compile. And this time I'll change that to day 8. I'll change the date to the 8th. And export it to the desktop. And let's have a little preview. Will it work? Who's going to be brave and say yes or no?
Yes.
No, it won't. What didn't I do, Mike? Let's have a look at it. Will it work? No, it won't. We've got a broken image. The rest of it's fine. You'll notice everything came in. We've got the MacBites header. You go down the list, you've got bullet points. It made them bullets. It put in the signature. It's added all this at the bottom. The address will happen at the point it's sent via our service. But the graphic's not there. Now, you saw me upload it, so what went wrong? What didn't I do, Mike?
Make it public.
I didn't make it public. So I'm going to go into MacBites S3, go into the newsletter assets, find it, right-click on it, and then I've got these 4 options that are all to do with CloudMounter. And at the moment, it's set to private, and I'm going to make it public. Once I've done that, this is always the nervy moment, will it actually work? Go back into it, do a preview, technically speaking, yes, it should work. And that, just being able to do that through the Finder is what saves me a ton of time. And that's what CloudMounter is all about. The alternative to that would be opening up an FTP client and connecting to it, navigating down to the folder, opening the preferences, changing the property, and then closing everything down and coming out to find out that I've not done it for something else and then go back in and do it again. So that's why CloudMounter is pretty amazing. And that's the way that I actually use it. You have had a sneak peek of tomorrow's mail. So who likes CloudMounter?
I like that.
I love CloudMounter. I think it's a brilliant service. As I said, another one of the main uses for me would be I do have multiple Dropbox accounts. And sometimes if I'm doing a demo, I do have Dropbox installed on my system, so you can actually get to my Dropbox folder. There's my Dropbox folder. But I can only get to one of them. I cannot get to the other one. So mounting the second one via CloudMounter is the only way I've found to actually do that. So that is what I use it for. $19 for a lifetime license, cannot get robbed. There's a Windows version for you switches and sliders and whatever. I've not done that with the Windows one because my Windows is in a VM. But you could if you wanted, and it's still going to cost you less for both of them for a lifetime license for each than it would for just the Mac version, because I think the proper price is $49, I think. So that's how we make the mail. That's how I upload them. That's how I get to them and change the properties of it. So that was our first part. So let's switch back to our running order and see what we're looking at second. So we've looked at CloudMounter. We've looked at the MacBites mail. Oh, do we have a demo for you now? Do we have a demo for you now?
My turn.
Sort of. So I'll do the intro because I found it. I found it. I saw this thing this week and it was one of those things. It was a PowerPoint thing and it was blethering on and I thought, great, won't work on the Mac. And then realised it's coming to the Mac soon. So what we would have done with it, I think, we'd have left it until the show and said this is coming soon. I sent it to Mike and he was like, I'm liking that. And on Windows, there is a very bring your own sellotape to make it work implementation going on now, isn't there? But you really do. Yeah, you stand on one leg, whistle dandy. It did work, but it's very manual to install it. So what you're about to see, you're going to see it on Windows, but fear not, it's coming to the Mac version of PowerPoint in January. You're just going to see it early. What it said it did, and I had no idea how it did it, was that
it's magic.
Well, it's magic, yes. That it does a live translation of a presentation whilst you're presenting it. So if you're with us in the chat and you know any other language other than English, let us know now and say what language it is. Now, Mike...
VBA, does that count?
No, VBA doesn't count. It doesn't translate into VBA. I have a smattering of French of about 10 words.
Un, deux, trois.
No. I can say, like, shut the door and things. Where's the toilet? Yeah, no, I don't know on your way out. I know where's the toilet, but obviously when they reply, I haven't got a clue what they're saying. So I'm not brilliant with
la toilette.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. But then when
La plume de bâton.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah.
That's my aunt's pen.
Yeah.
And it's on the table. Sur la table. You see? My French is fabulous. But if you know another language, put it in the chat and let us know. Otherwise, you're just going to have to randomly pick one. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Mike, who's going to show you this working fantastically. I'm going to get the VM up first, obviously, and then I'm going to share the desktop. And do you need Air Server right at this point?
Could do with Air Server.
Let me just get the VM. Let's get that in the right place.
Air Server running?
No, not at the moment.
That's why I can't find it.
Oh, stop panicking, Mike. Let me get there. We've got to share that first, and then we need Air Server running. And then we don't need this yet, do we?
No. You mean this?
I don't think so, Graham. But then there what is that language? Devonshire. No, what do they call it?
I don't know.
They do. They have a language down there, don't they?
Cornish.
That's the one. But about 2 people speak it, I think. It's quite sad. But what they do have, Graham, don't know if this is any use to you, but it's nearer you than me, Wales. There is Welsh. So if you know any Welsh, you could test the Welsh one for us. Okay, that's you, Scrooge. You need to tap.
I need to tap.
You need to tap. That's got rid of it.
Right.
Oh, what's it doing? We don't need that as well. Right, where's that just gone? Whoa, where did it go?
Where did what go?
I've just moved that and it's disappeared completely. Did it crash?
Don't know.
Can you just share it again?
Right.
Because it started echoing.
Sorry, folks, we've got technical trouble.
Oh, there's always technical problems, isn't there?
We'll be back.
We've not even started yet. Yes,
No.
You see, you managed to crash it.
I didn't crash it.
It crashed itself, did it?
Crashed
Right.
itself.
Get it going again and let's get it to the side.
For those of you who are following along, you need to install the Microsoft Translator app, and the link is further up somewhere in the chat. Once you have installed the app, run it.
Oh, not again. It's crashing. It's making it go. I can't shut that up. Hang on. It's crashing it as soon as you go into it because of the sound, I think.
Oh, right.
But I'm not sure. You see, now we demoed this before.
But
Right.
we weren't running YouTube at the time.
We weren't running YouTube at the time, but that's not the point.
Well, I can still do it without this.
You can, but it would be better with it. So give it one more try.
Right. Third time lucky.
Yeah, keep everything crossed, people.
Right.
Right, all I'm going to do is move it to the side. I'm not going to touch it. Leave it be.
Right.
Right, try it again now.
Run the app.
And it crashes! Okay, that's not going to work. We can't show you this, so we're going to have to take you guys on trust that you are doing this.
It worked in rehearsal.
It did work in rehearsal. I think it's Wirecast.
Yeah.
Never mind. Right, what we were going to do, you're going to see it from our end. I've got sound coming out of somewhere.
Hello?
It'd be your phone or something.
My phone. Hello?
Is it your headphones?
No. Hello?
I think it's taking it up to full doodah again. Right, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, I leave a demo to Mike and this is what happens.
This is why we call it MacBites Live.
Let me, for the love of all that's holy, explain what's supposed to be happening, Mike. Right. Calm. You're going to see PowerPoint on our desktop. We would like you to be able to see. I know, see, Herbert's from Germany. Fantastic. Herbert, have you got this translator installed? Mike, go and put the link in again while I explain what's supposed to be going on. We're about to demonstrate PowerPoint. Sadly, my linguistic skills, not great, other than English, and a tiny smattering of French. Tiny. Petit. What we wanted to be able to show you was the iOS client that you could use while we're doing the presentation. But obviously, it's not playing ball with our system. It was a little bit too much. So Mike's putting the links in there. If you want to play along with us in real time, and I've seen it work in real time, it's fabulous, then you can do. Download it from one of those links, get it installed, and then we're going to show you a code, and you're going to put the code in, and you can follow along live. I'm just wondering, Mike, if there's another way to do this. Let's not reflect your screen. Give it to me. Let's put that on the desk and reflect my screen to the desktop so it's not got any sound with it. And let's see if that works. Because it's going to come up in text as well, isn't it? So, if I do that, I think you've actually crashed Air Server again, haven't you? But let's give it a go. Let's reflect my screen to it. Okay. And let's see if I can get in there to that. Oh, hey! Right, hopefully that won't crash and you'll be able to see both. If this works, it'll be a miracle. Oh, it'll go down in the annals of MacBites history, this thing. Right, over to you, Mike.
Right.
I'm just going to...
I'll need a mouse.
Ooh. You want a lot, don't you?
Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a PowerPoint file. And I've already installed this add-in into PowerPoint. So I go to slideshow.
Oh, no, I didn't want to do that.
What's happened?
It's all right, you carry on. I'm
Okay.
just trying to flip this round. Right, there we go.
You go to slideshow in PowerPoint. Now remember, this is in Windows, but it is coming to the Mac early next year. Make sure, well, there's a tick box, always present with subtitles, so you can turn that off if you were running this presentation as a slideshow, but you didn't want the subtitles. So you get the choice, and then you click Start Subtitles. Now, you only need to do this once. I'm just going to show you this, because this is what you do to set it all up. You click Start Subtitles, you say what language you'll be speaking, and you say what language you want the subtitles in. So I'm going to leave the subtitles as English, and that's what will be seen on this computer by the audience in the room. So if I was delivering this in a room, for example, but you can choose any language you like. So I'll leave it set to English. You configure the microphone, various other things. And the first time, it takes about 5 minutes to kind of analyze your presentation. So at this point, I'm ready to deliver the presentation. And what you need to do, if you're following along, is tap on the in the app. If you've loaded the app up, what you'll need to do is tap on the icon with the two heads on it and type in the 5-digit code which you see on the screen now, which is RYDGU. Romeo, Yacht, Delta, Golf, Uniform.
And then tap Join.
And tap Join. You can put a name in for the during the conversation. You put your name in, and there was something else, wasn't there? And what you should actually see at the bottom of the screen, the big screen, is you should see the words that I'm actually saying, because although I've not actually started the presentation, it is picking up what I'm saying. And on your iPhone or whatever device you're using, you should see the words that I'm saying translated into the language you chose.
Our phone's on French.
Yeah, our phone's on French. So, should we start this presentation?
I'm trying to flip that around so you can actually see it. So I'm going to hold it at that angle so you can see the words. I'm trying to get it so it's sharp, but it's the best I can do. So I'm going to move this over to the right so they can see the majority of what's going on here.
So if you tap the mouse to start the presentation, or is it the keyboard? Can I do it with the keyboard? Come on. Okay, hello and welcome to this training session on Power Pivot. Power Pivot, what is it? Well, it's an add-in for Excel, which allows you to do, amongst other things, create a pivot table from related Excel-based data and from multiple related data sources. And it allows you to create calculated fields in a pivot table and create reports in Excel from large databases. So now that I've taken you through what Power Pivot can do, let's go and have a look at the software itself. Now, obviously, we're not going to do that. That was just an introduction to a training session that I run. So hopefully you can see the live subtitles at the bottom of the PowerPoint screen, and also you can see the live subtitles in French on the iPhone. Amazing.
That is absolutely fabulous. In fact, if you were having a conversation with somebody and they were speaking another language, it's in real time.
It is.
I mean, we're just talking now. We're not running that presentation. It's live. It's not something that it's reading off the slides and translating it that way. It's actually live.
Hello and welcome to MacBites After Hours 3.
I'm trying to get that so you can read it over on the right. There you go. I wonder what it makes of the word MacBites.
Siri, where's my tea?
Oh, don't set Siri off. I've got about 19 different devices here.
My tea.
It knows all about the MacBites teeth, by the way, people.
It is awesome, Curtis.
It's amazing, isn't it? That is actually amazing. Now, the only thing that makes it difficult at the moment, I think, is that it's an add-in and it's only for Windows.
Anyway, the BBC Live News isn't always perfect.
Oh, the BBC Live News is an absolute scream at times. So no, it's no worse.
The BBC Live News.
Yes.
Right. Should we stop this now?
Yes, I don't know what you're doing. If you've got the mouse. You've got the mouse.
I've got the mouse. I'm guessing I press escape.
Whee! But it does actually carry on, doesn't it?
No.
Oh no, it stops at that point.
Once you press escape and you've come out of slideshow mode, you have to run the slideshow, and that's what starts it.
So let me try and get that way we can actually see it. There's the words. Not 100% clear, and it doesn't work if you're trying to reflect it at the same time.
No.
Didn't like that at all.
No.
But I did come up with a plan B. So
things we learned tonight.
Yes, the things we learn. Unfortunately, doing it live. But that is coming to the Mac. Now, the good news is when it does come to the Mac in January, and I think you have to be on Fast Insider to get it straight away. But when it comes to the Mac, it's going to be integrated. So you're not going to have to install anything. You're just going to have to run it once to get it configured. And then that's it. You are good to go and you will be able to do that live. So whether somebody is in the room with you, so if you're presenting to a group of people and English isn't their first language, but it's yours, the subtitles at the bottom live could be in any other language. If you're presenting to multilingual, they can choose their own language and actually look at it on their iOS device or their Android device while you're presenting. Now, my feedback from courses that I've put together is that people have said to me, you have a really clear speaking voice and that's fantastic. There's just some words that I cannot follow in real time. And what they'd like is subtitles in their own language, basically just for some of the words. So they could be able to look at you and follow along. But if they're not sure of a word, it would be very handy to have that word appear at the bottom. So I actually think there's a possibility you could kind of run that in the corner and do a demonstration of something else, and it would still give you that facility. So it's powered with this Translator, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the service that you hook into, and you hook into it once. But that, to me, that is just amazing. So how many of you have got an Office subscription? That would be an interesting thing to know. We do have an Office subscription. We have 3, I think, don't we? I've got one, you've got one, and there's a business one.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got all of those, but it does work in any version of PowerPoint, which I think is pretty amazing. So let's get our running order back and see what we're going to look at next.
Any questions before we do?
Yeah, any questions on that? Let us know. So I'm going to lose this VM out of the way and have a quick look. Oh,
no question.
Video.
Video.
Well, sort of video, yes, because I need to
video.
I need to video to make this work.
Do you want the light?
I'll put this light on here because I'm not. I need that. Let's get that out of the way. It won't stretch any further. You're sat on it. Your toy's sat on my cable.
Really?
Yes. That'll go a little bit further, but I think that's about it. So let's get this up. And we're talking storage. We're talking mobile device storage and how to increase it first, aren't we? So are you going to go with that, or do we have any questions?
Will we have Translate if you're not doing a PowerPoint? No, it's a PowerPoint add-in, Curtis. That's what it's just PowerPoint.
I was wondering if you got it going at the side and then put something over the top of it, whether it would. So I don't know. Be worth looking at. Because at the moment it's an add-in and it's not going to be an add-in down the line. Down the line it's just going to be built in and it's just going to do it. So we'd have to have a real test to see what it's capable of. But even just for presentations, that's pretty good, isn't it?
It's awesome. One
thing you could do is if you just wanted a translation providing remotely, so not local to your room. So if I'm doing a live webinar and I would like a translation of what I'm saying, pushing out in German, in French, in Dutch, one thing I could do is set it going on another machine. So you'll see here that we have a laptop and that laptop is doing all the YouTube work tonight. I could set that doing the presentation and I could hook it up and then pass out the code. But what I'm broadcasting in terms of the visuals is my main machine and I'm doing a demo on that. So you wouldn't see it live in the stream, but you would see it live in the app. So it's one of those things that when it's there and it's easy to use and people get used to it and you just use this code, hook into the translator, that would be amazing and you would be able to do it. You just wouldn't have it on the screen. Although there's talk of YouTube putting in real-time translation into their subtitles. But if you wanted somebody to be able to do it on their mobile device, yes, you would absolutely be able to do that. So it's just really a matter of working out what it actually does and how you could leverage that in the best possible way. It'll be doable. Most things are doable. Just need to know how. So we're going to look at these mobile device storage things.
This one.
So you're starting with yours.
I'll start with mine. Unless you don't want me.
I'm just thinking, mine is so much prettier, isn't it? Right. We were talking about mobile device storage was what we were talking about. And we were, by mobile devices, we mean mobile devices. So we mean, shall we have it that way or the other way? Will it go the other way? Might be better if it was the other way. Let's see if no, let's leave it alone because it'll probably crash. Such confidence I have in my toys here. We were talking about how you would add storage capacity to mobile devices. Now, what we mean by that, so let me get this broadcasting so you can see it. Oh, you should be able to see that now, shouldn't you? There we go. No, you can't. You should be, but you won't be. Let me do that and then you will. Ooh, right. So we mean, how would you add storage in terms of capacity to a mobile device like a phone or an iPad? And I've got this lovely adapter from Apple. That's it. That is how I add storage capacity. It's lovely, isn't it? Just imagine my phone, which I'm using at the moment, or I would, with that hanging off the bottom of it. Now, I know it's only a 2 gig card, but you could take that up to 256 if you wanted, or even beyond. But basically, that's it.
Like a 1990s phone with the aerial.
It is. I look at that and I think, yes, it works, but, seriously, it's not pretty, is it? So you basically have to have that hanging off. Your other problem is, with this, only certain apps can get access to it. And that depends on Apple, really, and what they'll let you do with it. So you may be able to get access to it through the Files app. You may be able to get access to it through Goodreader or something like that. But basically, my point being, that is not pretty when to get access to external storage, you have to have that stuck out the bottom and hanging off. Not fabulous. Which was when Mike said, oh, my toy, remember his Surface toy? Surface toy. It takes cards. So I said, well, what card does it take? Do you want to flip it over and see, or are you going to intro it?
No, it's what's it called?
An SD something card.
Yeah, I've got it written down here. Just bear with me whilst I drop my iPhone with my notes on it.
I'm not saying a thing.
Uh,
It's an SD something X card.
yeah.
It's a small SD card. So it's not that big one. It's the tiny one that you tend to put in your phone. It's that one.
That's because I've got the wrong notes.
Oh, isn't he organised? Isn't he organised?
Yeah, because I was going to talk about something else to do with the Surface.
Well, now you're talking about this, so get on with it.
No. It's an SD.
It's a baby SD card.
Yeah. Anyway, where is it?
And it's there. See that? Ooh. Right, I'm going to push that with my nail. You're not going to be able to hear that too well. It makes a little clicking sound. And there it is. That's it. Look at the size of that. Not only look at the size of that, by comparison...
There's 200 gigs on that.
And there's 200 gig there. Not only look at the size of that by comparison, but just look at how neat that is. It's very flat, so let me get it round so you can see how flat it is. It's literally just a cutout in the side of it. That's the card. So I'm going to put that there.
Stick it back in.
And as I slide that in, let me get that right. Is that in? I am the right way, aren't I? I am. Just push that in. Right, it slides in, gets about that far, and to push it all the way in, you need to use a fingernail. So I'm just pushing it, and it clicks in, and it sits there like that. Doesn't fall out. It actually pushes in, locks in place, and now that has got as much extra space as you want. So you went for the 200 gig one, didn't you?
For 200 gig. How much was it? Because you bought it.
£39.
Oh, that's not bad, is it?
Come on, go away. That's better. I don't think it'll have added it back now. Let's do it again. Right, where you go.
Right. So yeah, all it does is it's going to sit in there permanently, and I'm going to use it for backup. So it just should assign it a drive letter. There we go. That's it. The SDXC card. And
You've got nothing on it.
I've got nothing on it.
Transfer something to it. Humour me.
Right. Okay. What should I transfer? Something small. I know.
Yeah, not the whole of a film.
No. That PDF. I'll stick it on the desktop.
Okay, we've got a copy on the desktop.
And then there we go.
Whoa, that's fast.
Yeah, that's fast.
You could definitely put films on it and,
Yeah.
and use it that way.
And watch it straight off the film, off the card.
And of course, the benefit of that is that card happens to be a 200 gig card. But now I thought a micro SD, Graham, but they're actually calling them SD. What was it? XC cards these days, which I thought, and initially I thought, is that something different? But doesn't seem to be. I would call it a micro SD. But you're not limited to one. Obviously, they come out and can be replaced really quickly. So you could leave one on your main desktop, transfer work to it that you need to take with you, or huge video files that you're working with, and do it that way. In fact, I'm not quite sure where that is, but I'll do that next week. I've got a little card pack thing that I put all mine in. So we'll dig that out next week.
Shall I talk about the other things?
Yes, talk about your other things.
The other things, right. Do you want to pass me my adapter?
Oh, yes, your integrated adapter.
There's my integrated adapter somewhere.
Hold it still. Right, let's turn it round so we can see. It's got all these kind of video adapter things on it.
That hooks into the mini DV. Is it DV? No, display. Mini display port.
This thing that we're looking at is an Amazon Basics. It was £12 and it would actually work on an iMac. This is exactly the same kind of thing that would work on an iMac because it's got the same port at the end. But it works on Mike's Surface for £12. Can I just reiterate the £12?
Yeah, if you wanted to buy the equivalent from Apple, you'd actually have to buy 2 of them, because what this is, as I said, one end goes into the mini port, and then it's got an HDMI, a VGA, and a DVI port, and can use those for connecting to monitors, connecting to projectors. The equivalent from Apple, you'd have to buy 2 of them, one DVI, one VGA, and that would be £29 each.
And that doesn't give you HDMI?
It doesn't give you, no, it doesn't give you
No.
DVI.
Oh.
It gives you HDMI,
HDMI and VGA. That's lovely of them, isn't it? Yeah, I vaguely remember, because this is the Apple equivalent, I vaguely remember paying something like 39 quid for this. I bought that to work with my iMac when I wanted to add one extra monitor to it. So it was a while ago when they were very first came out, and it was an obscene amount of money. So it only has the one thing on it, and it was easy 3 times the price of that one. We've tried that on the Mac and it works. The other thing that we have, and this was obscene. This was like £39. This is the same thing in terms of it's got VGA on it, and it also has pass-through power on it. And it's a lightning one, so that works on your iPad and your... No, actually, it works on an old iPad and my phone. But it does not work on the new one because that is not lightning. The new iPad being USB-C. So, I looked at what the price of that was. I'm now on smelling salts. I think it was 69. Yes, so that's not happening. So these things from Apple, hugely expensive. Always look for the alternative, because that would have cost you 60 odd quid. Yeah. All in. And of course, it's just much neater than this kind of affair. But that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't look classy having that dangling off the end. So that allows you to put this on another monitor.
Another monitor, projector, TV.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Next.
Next is the pen. I think I talked about the pen last week, but I'm just going to talk a little bit more about it. It's got a button at the top which clicks. Oh, I was going to show you that in a minute. Let me close that down. Yeah, let me close that down as well. The button on the top of the pen is configurable, so you can configure it for a double click, which runs, well, I've configured it to run Microsoft Whiteboard. You can configure it for a single click, which runs, in this case, OneNote. That's how I configured it. And you can configure it to tap and hold. And that runs my beloved Excel.
I want this on my Apple Pencil.
Yeah, that would be good.
I paid more for my Apple Pencil than you paid for that. I'm annoyed now.
It's also got a right click button. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of raised.
Yep. Yeah. Move your finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you actually hold that and tap on the screen, it acts as a right mouse click. So you hold that button down as you touch the screen. The other thing about the Surface was that the pen appeared to work out of the box.
It did.
But then when I thought about it, yes, it worked out the box, but it wasn't acting as a pen. It was just as the pen. It was just acting like your finger
mouse
or a mouse or any stylus. To actually get those configurations with the double tap and everything, you do have to connect it to the Bluetooth. But compare this to the Apple Pencil. It's smaller. I don't know what you think about that.
We can put that next to it if you like. Put it on the desk.
Yeah.
There's the Apple Pencil. There's that one.
It's smaller and it's more configurable.
And I have an older one somewhere. Oh, where did that go?
Should I find mine?
Yes, mine's disappeared. Where on earth would my Apple Pencil have gone? I think it's gone off on holiday somewhere. That's the Rev 2 of the Apple Pencil. So let's line them up at the top and you can see how much of a difference there is.
Yes, you usually leave them in the bed.
Yeah, I do. Right, and that's the other one. that is Rev 1, which is bigger again. By comparison to the first one, it's ridiculously smaller, isn't it?
It actually does more as well.
It does. It does a lot more.
Yeah, it's more configurable.
If you look at the end, I say it's like bouncy when you touch the screen. Because the Apple ones, you can see they're both solid, whereas that one looks more like a fine tip marker, doesn't it? So it actually does more. So that's it size-wise by comparison. Yeah. And it does more. Guess who's peeved?
You.
Me, I'm peeved.
Yes.
I'm peeved. Let's get that out of the way.
Didn't you want to configure the pencil to go into OneNote?
I did, and this is the first time Apple have actually done it, where you can double tap and it goes into the Notes app. But that's all it does. It won't let me choose which app it goes into. It will only do one thing, and it will only do that if you've got the screen thing enabled, where it's doing the face recognition, because otherwise it won't let you in.
I think that's it.
The idea wasn't bad, but never mind. Okay, let's get back to our running order.
Let's move this out of the way.
Oh, Affinity Designer, Affinity Designer. Oh, that's Curtis happy. Affinity Designer. Who's downloaded the new betas of Affinity Designer?
Not me.
Is the new Apple Pencil compatible with iPad Pro 1st Gen? Sadly not, Curtis. The old Pencil is not compatible with the new iPad, and the new Pencil is not compatible with the old iPad. I actually was more interested in the new Pencil than the new iPad. As we mentioned on the show, Mike said, so the iPad was an afterthought, and I said, pretty much. I want the Pencil. I'm going to have to buy an iPad with it. My logic for going for the 2nd Gen Pencil was just the first one. It worked really well. I'll give them that. In terms of writing, it was very good. But in terms of being able to do anything else with it, like change the tools in a writing app or anything like that, you know, like I think the 1st Gen of the Microsoft Pencil, you could flip it round and do an erase with it.
You can do that with that.
Oh, and you can do an erase with it as well.
Yeah.
Good, you might know what I'm talking about.
You just turn it round. And
Well, it didn't do anything like that. So this is the first one that will enable you to do that. But obviously, then you have to buy a new iPad. Apple know how to print money, really, don't they? Because they've added that, but they've not actually made it anything like as powerful as the Microsoft one. Now, whether they ever will or not, I don't know. They might think it doesn't need to do all that. But I think once you got used to it, if you were used to that and you moved to an iPad, I think you'd be thinking, I wish it did this, I wish it did that. There is a double tap that's on it, which yours doesn't have. You're pushing the thing in. There's a double tap on the new Pencil where you can switch tools. In fact, I think you can configure what it does. I've got it to switch tools. Right, so Affinity Designer. Affinity Designer. Yes, the beta. So let's get back to the desktop. And I set a question earlier, which was, let me show you where we've just been. This one here. I said that was designed in Affinity Designer, and there's one feature that has got that is really in your face that I wouldn't have been able to do this time last week. Don't think anybody guessed what that feature was. So that's one thing I'm going to show you. And the other thing I'm going to show you is a brand new feature as well. So we're looking at 2 new features of Affinity Designer Beta. Right, the links for this is in After Hours 3, so post the links. It is a public beta and it's completely free. Having said that, be warned. You will only be able to use this beta if you have the Mac App Store versions of Affinity Designer and or Affinity Photo installed. But you can install the beta alongside them. So if I type in Designer, you'll see I've got lots of design apps on here. But Affinity Designer is the one from the App Store. Then I have Affinity Designer Beta running next to it. This is the 1.7 beta, and yes, it has a new icon. It needs Affinity Designer installed to work because that's how it knows that you are a registered user of it, that you own the thing. Okay, so what we're doing is putting links in the chat where you can get these betas today for free, but you need the other versions, the purchased versions, to be able to make them work. Okay, so let's run the Affinity Designer beta. Visually, doesn't look that different. There is a very nice splash screen, which unhelpfully has opened up on another screen. Let me just get rid of that. But other than that, it looks very similar to the standard Affinity Designer. You do have the new icon in the top left. Now, the first new feature that I'm going to show you is something that I have wished would be there forever, which is if I go into File and I go to New, this is the new file dialog box, and it's been like this since it was very first released, which unbelievably is 4.5 years ago. And up here, we had 5 groupings of presets. We had print, press ready, photo, web, and devices. Now, web was quite handy for me because I use a lot of 720, which is 1280 by 720 pixels, which is a 16:9 ratio. So I was okay. I could choose that as a starting point and then make any changes in this dialog box that I wanted. So I could change the DPI, I could automatically create an artboard, make the background transparent or anything like that. I could do that. Now, you know those images that we looked at? We looked at some images that went into the MacBites Mail. They are actually 600 pixels wide because that's the width of the MacBites Mail. And there's nothing to stop me designing them at another size and exporting them. But if I wanted to design them at 600 pixels on an artboard, there isn't an option in here to make it 600 pixels. I've got 800 by 600, but I don't have 600 by 337. It's not an option. And until this beta, I couldn't make a custom preset. And that's the new feature they've added. If we go into type, you now have presets at the bottom. Now, you might think, oh, hang on a minute, I've seen that before. No, that's Affinity Photo. In here, it's brand new. So you go into presets, and obviously at the moment, there's absolutely nothing set up in the way of presets. So it just says page preset custom. I click the drop down, nothing in it. Right, what you need to do to create one is to start changing things in here. So I'm going to change my 1280 to 600, move down to the next field, which is the height, which is 337. I'll leave it set to 72, etc. Now, I would like to create an artboard with that as well. Every time I use this, I can't get this working, but it is a beta. So what I need to do at this point, I've set it up as I would like it. I've not made too many changes in terms of margins and stuff like that, but the size alone would save me some time. Then you go to this little icon next to the word custom, and you can create a preset. And this is a custom preset to you. So click create preset, and it comes up with this enter a preset name. Now this one is 600 by 337, and then click OK. And that means, now you see, straight away it's taken create artboard away. Don't do that, because I'm always going to want an artboard. But what I can do at this stage is I can come in and think, maybe I want web and devices and I might want this one. No, I want my own. So I go back to presets, and that's the only one I've got, so it automatically defaults to that. If I've got more, it will give me a list. Now all I need to do is just create an artboard. So I do have to put the tick and create an artboard, but that's what I can actually do with it. Let's have a look in that list, because another one I use is, there's artwork for podcasts, which is 1440 by 1440. There's also stuff that's square, so 1:1 ratio for Instagram. And yeah, mainly Instagram, but also you might have something like a tall, thin thing for Pinterest. So you could create those if you wanted to. So let's just do a quick other one. Let's do a 600 by 600. And go and do another one, create preset. And this one is 600 by 600. So now I've got 2 presets in here. Let's go into there. No, you've only got one. Come on, what are you doing? Let's go away and click back, and hopefully it's remembered it. Oh, it hasn't. That's very naughty of it. Let's do it again. Don't make a liar out of me. You know, in rehearsals, they only did it with one. And then you're going live and you think, oh, I'll show them how to make 2. And then it doesn't work. 100 by 600. Okay. That looks better. There you go. Now I've got 2. So I'm going to choose my other one, which is my 600 by 337. Make myself an artboard, go into it. And that gives me a very good start. It's only called artboard, artboard 1. So I need to go in and start doing naming it. So that might be a poster for whatever. But it's a starting point is what it is. Now, there is a limitation to that. That is a starting point, as I said. Be aware, it's a starting point, it's not a template. It does not support templates in that way. Now you might think, what's the difference? What's the difference between a preset and a template? I'll show you a template I use and that will make much more sense. So if I say open, it goes to a folder, my iCloud folder. And here's all my stuff. All sorts in here. Now I also have in here, if I sort them by name, right, not that way, the other way, I have a templates folder. And these are my templates. So I actually have here posters for a live session, and that's my template. Now, I hope what you can see at that point as you're looking at that is, there's content. There's more than one artboard. And that's the difference between a preset that it now can do and a template which it can't do. So when I'm doing a live session and I want a new poster, or I'm doing a MacBites Live, that's what a MacBites Live one looks like, or a poster set for show art. But one of these, let's say a live session. I choose that in here and I open it. Now, this is something else I needed to mention. If you're using the beta saves in a slightly different file format than the original. So it's prompting you to be careful. If I make changes in here and I don't make a copy, I'm not going to be able to open this document in the old version of Affinity Designer. So I'm going to choose to make a copy, and I would suggest you do the same. Or at least have a backup if you're going to go for it. So I'm going to make a copy of that and it will open that up. But the first thing I've then got to do is remember to go to File and Save As. And instead of saving it back to templates, I'm going to save it into the main Affinity Designer folder, and I'll call that Poster Demo. At that point, I can now start making changes. I don't see a way. It's not supporting that at the moment, put it like that. There's no way I could take that as it is and make a preset, massive air quotes, out of it, because it doesn't support the multiple artboards. So we're still, sadly, unfortunately, at the stage that if what you want is that, so I want to make posters of different ratios. They're not just different sizes, they're different ratios. This one here is 1200 by 644. This one is a 16:9 ratio, so it's 1280 by 720. This one is 795 by 500, which is the size my blog needs. And this one is the square one, so it's 720 pixel square. If I need that kind of setup, this is still the only way to do it. I really wish they'd put templates in, but sadly they don't. Templates would enable you to preload other elements as well. Let me know in the chat what kind of elements you'd like to be able to save in your template. One of the things that I save into a template is the swatches. I tend to have a document palette, and the document palette, as you can see here, as I make my changes there, oh, pink and purple. All I can say is it's the Affinity photo colours, but I can save that inside my file. And if I could make a template from my file, then I could save that to it as well. I could also save contents to it, and I could save library items to it and things like that. So I would love to see templates, but what they've added is File, New, Type, Presets, and then Custom Presets. Make sure you choose an artboard if you want one, and OK. So that's what they've added. It's the first feature that they've added to this. Now, has anybody come up with the right suggestion for what I couldn't do last week, but I can do this week? I don't think you have. So I'm going to put you out of your misery and tell you. Right, what I'm going to do for that is open up a file. So I'm going to open, and I have a file in here. Let's do it sorted by date. And it's the After Hours poster set. So I'm going to open that. Again, it's saying this was made in the release version of Affinity, so make a copy, and I'll say yes. And this is how I did it. I made one file. I've got all the sizes and stuff that I need, which is in here. Yes, those dates work, don't they? Episode 5 is the 21st, and next week we're on to episode 4. So these were the posters, and what I wanted to do tonight was use this, which used to have a date on it, but this is because it was historical. It was historical. Now it's going to be a running order. So in there, I'm actually going to rename that running order, which I'm sure I did, but never mind. And what I then did was put the text on here that you're viewing. So you're seeing that text when we flick over into that view, you're seeing that. So what I did tonight was I said, right, what we're going to cover, let's make a list of it. And I put it in here. And I looked at it and I thought, spacing's not great. But it's the one time I wanted bullet points. An Affinity Designer doesn't support bullet points. Or it didn't. But now it does. So I'm going to double click on there. So I'm in my text box and I can select my text. There's the text. And up here, there is now a bulleted list option and a numbered list option. I've never, ever, ever missed that. In 4.5 years using Affinity Designer and about 20 years before using various apps, Sketch, Adobe Illustrator, never, ever, ever needed bullet points. Tonight, wanted bullet points, which was when it came back to my mind, having read the release notes. I'm the one person on the planet that reads the release notes. It does bullets now. So I went in and thought, oh, how? And it's as simple as just clicking it. And then you have bullet points. Now, the one other thing that I wanted to do with it, I thought they're a little bit close together. So I changed in here the spacing, just going down here until I had nice breathable space, which for me was 48. 64 missed bits off the end, but 48 was fine. And that was how I used the new beta to do something that I couldn't have done last week. I love it when they add something like that that is imminently usable straight away. There's a possibility it's the halo effect because Affinity Publisher has bullets and numbering. So basically, it's just been retrofitted into Designer. So if you need that right now, you need to download that beta version. So that was a very, very, very quick look at a few new features in Affinity Designer. No date for release yet. It still isn't hooked up from Affinity Publisher. So we talked about Affinity Publisher and said there are 3 icons at the top of Affinity Publisher, and one of them is Affinity Designer, the other being Photo. So of course, on your behalf, the first thing I did was dive in and see if I could round trip them between them. And sadly, unfortunately, still not. So let me show you at the moment. You can't do that at the moment. That's the latest Affinity Publisher beta. That too has a new icon, so new branding on the way. The rationale for the new branding is that all of the icons have a kind of commonality across platforms. So that was the logic of them doing that. Let's open up a file, something I've really been working on this week. Our Christmas concert programme tomorrow. So if you're in the vicinity, come along. This is what's on. Do you know, I should show them the best one of the night. Obviously, this is for our church, our local church. Where is it? What page is it on? Here we go. Here we go. This is what we're doing. So we've got the usual, haven't we? In the bleak midwinter. God, that's a very dour one, isn't it? And I don't know all of these. God, yes, rest you merry gentlemen. That's fine. The carols of the bells. Yeah, looking good, isn't it? And then let's get down here. In fact, let's zoom in down here. We're having Fairy Tale of New York. I'm just going to leave that sitting there while you work through the lyrics and think, really? In a church? Yeah, that's what we thought. Worse than that. Sarah is an amazing soloist. But look who's doing it with her. Our priest. I want video of this to share with you next week. So that was what I've been working on this week. And what I thought was, I wonder if I can round trip it. It's going to be printed out. In fact, hopefully it's already printed. If not, we are in dire trouble. It's going to be printed out as A5. So an 8-page A5 booklet. So that's the back page there, raising funds for the roof. Yes, we're still paying for the roof. So what I did with that was I got it in there and thought, I wonder if I can round trip it. And I've got new icons, shiny icons at the top. So you are going to be able to round trip to Vector Persona and Photo Persona. So I thought these icons are now matching. I wonder. So I clicked it and I was told unceremoniously no. It's disabled until later in the beta program, which looks to me as though we are still some time away from a release of Publisher, sadly. So I thought I'd just show you that, yes, the icons have all been updated. They're still adding new features to Publisher, but no, not yet. What I did do in this document was, as you can see from this, we've got a welcome and introduction, which I called, what did I call that? Title. Then I've got a style called Who, And further down, I've got one that says words. So this would be words, wouldn't it? I don't know why I've got words 1, 2 and 3. No idea. But if you want me to show you how I did all that, let me know and we'll do it in a future demo. But what I've managed to do with those styles is chain them together. So each time I press enter, it goes from one style to the next style to the next style. And then I manually set it back to the beginning and then we go again. So I was able to create this quite quickly by having the styles there in the first place. And as you look through it, you know, it's predictable. We've got what, we've got who, what, who, what, who. So I'm able to flip-flop the styles and it just made doing it a whole lot easier. It was also a whole lot easier, quick behind the scenes, it was also a whole lot easier because I had too much text. And then she decided that one of the choir was randomly singing the verses in no particular order, so if I could possibly take them out, no one would notice. And I thought, good, that gives me enough room to put the rest of the content in. But style-wise, that was how I did it, and it made it very, very simple. We're also having a reading from Harry Potter. It's pretty...
Kevin Lynch.
Yes, it's a pretty... What would you say? Absurd concert, really.
It's not a carol concert.
It's not a carol concert, no, it's a Christmas concert. But yeah, hey, if you want to have a reading from Harry Potter, let's do it, I say. Let's do it, never mind. So that is a very quick look at Affinity Publisher, which I was hoping to round trip through, but I didn't get to round trip it. But in here, it's meant that, you know, what I would have had to have done with this text was do it by hand. I'd have had to put a dash at the beginning, a manual dash, which, you know, I could do for the number of points that's there. But knowing that that was one of the things they added, I thought, well, that's a good time to try it, isn't it? And of course, you've got the numbering as well, so you can change those bullets to numbering if you want to. And it works brilliantly. So do that. Do that. Oh, hello, Jay. Can you keep this up on YouTube so you can watch it later? We do. But to get the link, you need to go to MacBites. I don't leave it on my channel, but it is available. It's just unlisted. If you go to macbites.co.uk, you can see all of them. They're all there. What I might do with this demo is take it out and put it on my channel as just a little bit of a demo. So you never know. You never know. Right, so Curtis, more suggestions for demos for next time. Let us know. But we're moving on to the unboxing of the week. It's only a tiny thing, this. It's only a tiny thing. So what I'm going to do is get this on the desktop. It's going to be black at the moment as I bring it in, because that's because the phone's on the desk. The phone's on the desk and you can't see it, but you will do in a minute. I'm going to move the phone. There's the phone moving round this way. Right, Mike, if you can take hold of that and point that there. Right, that'll do. Right, let's move the light out of the way. This is the light. Whee! I've got this. Haven't even opened it yet. Look at that. I was looking for a cable. I'm always looking for something. And, you know, it was one of these things that was on offer and didn't want to leave it. Looked very nice. It's an extension USB cable. Now, you have to be careful with extension USB cables. This one tells me it is a USB 3 extension cable, which is important. It's also saying it's good for transfer and charging. So when you're buying these cables, make sure that you're getting one that will do exactly what you want. I'm having trouble charging an iPad at the moment. Doesn't seem to like any cable I've got. So your mileage may vary with cables, but if you get one that says USB 3 and transfer and charging, then you should be in a better position than if it was a USB 2 and it wasn't guaranteed for transfer and or charging. So be aware of that. This one cost me the princely sum of £5 and 3p. Its normal price, I think, is £7. So let's get it open. Handily, there is an opening bit here. But just to prove the point, look, coming off, live unboxing. Not exactly an iPad unboxing, I'll grant you, but I daren't buy another one because I'm waiting the credit card bill. And credit card might melt.
I've just paid for my stuff.
Oh, you just paid for it? That's good. Oh, you got the bill before I did, but you got the Surface before I did. Right, here it is. Here it is. Oh, it looked nice on the picture, is all I'll say. And I do use a lot of cables, so there's my cable. Now, it's not a repeater cable, but looking at the width of this, which is the bit that the USB goes into, and how heavy it is, I would say there might be some magic going on in here. There could well be with the weight of it. So let's open that up and have a look. Can't remember how long it was. Was it 6 foot? Does it tell me? Oh, it's in French. Quick, you've got that translator thing. Oh no, there's a bit in English here. Thank you for choosing us. No, it doesn't tell me how long it is. Let's see on the back.
Get a tape measure.
Oh, I'm not doing that. No, let's have a look at this. It feels the weight's about right. It's not that flexible. Let's open it up and have a look how flexible it is, if at all. Oh, it's not bad. It's not bad. But it's not one of these super, super flexible ones. So let me show you the difference. Where did that go? No, that's not a super flexible one either. Where did it go? Here we go. Here's my bag. Hopefully there'll be one in here. Brace yourselves. This is the bag that comes out with me when I go present. Yes, it's one of those. This is my super flexible cable. Hopefully you'll be able to see the difference. I use this one. This is a lightning cable. It's not a USB extension. You can see it's the lightning cable. But I use this one because it is so flexible. Maybe you're not going to get this by comparison. Let's see if it will. No, it's hard to tell. But this one's very flexible. If I bend that, you can see how flexible it is. I wouldn't say this one is as flexible as that. If I tried bending that, I'm not going to get it tighter than that. So it's not as flexible as my super flexible one, but it's not bad. This being the end that you put the USB device in, and this being the other end. So it's just an extension for a standard USB-A, I think, not a USB-C, USB-A. I dread to think how much it would have been if it was a USB-C. This one is a USB-A one. So it would be for things like if you have a very short cable. And there is one I had earlier. This is my very short cable. This is a 12-inch lightning charging cable. So it's very easy to put that just in my bag in a pocket, something like that. I have another one as well, which I know Gavin asked about. And Gavin, if you're watching, I'm not ignoring you. There's a reason that I haven't got back to you. This thing here, the one that we looked at last week, only last week it was black. This is my yellow one that twangs together, magnetic. If you've got that with you, and that's the one you use most of the time, but you find that you've only got a short one and you need it longer, even though this is incredibly, incredibly skinny, so it's not a standard USB thing, but it works as it. It's basically half of a USB. That one, it doesn't have the surround on it. Then you could put that in there, and that would change your short cable into a long cable. So you don't need to take two cables with you. You can just take the extender, which will work on lots of different things, and one lightning cable. So that was the logic of it. I like to have cables with me. As you can see from my magic bag, I like to have lots and lots of cables with me. We will make sure that the link to this cable is in the show notes. Keep your eye out though, because I saw it on offer and thought, oh, I must get that. And by the time I'd gone back to it, it'd gone off offer. So I put it on my wish list. When I put things on my wish list, Amazon indulge me, and usually within 48 hours it comes on offer again, and they send me a mail to tell me it's on offer, at which point I bought it before I forgot to buy it again. So that's how come I ended up with this beautiful cable this time. What we need to see now, is that it actually works, don't we? What can I plug in and see if it works? Let's see if it'll charge this. This is my other phone. Look at the state of that case. This is my backup phone. So if I plug that in there, and I plug that in there, and I take this end of it and I plug it in over here where my charger is. Never get that right first time, do I? Will you turn on? Oh, it will. I heard it. I heard it. It turned on. Let's see if that's charging. Are you charging? I know that there's something else on that. There we go. There we go. So give me that. And let me show you that it is actually... No, you've turned off now. Don't do that. It is actually charging. We can see a charging symbol in the top corner. So despite the fact that that is 6 foot long, it's charging with my little yellow cable there, which is great. So I would put that in my bag. Most of the time I'd use the short yellow one or my short 12 inches one. But if I did need it longer, like at the dinner table, and they'll think this is ridiculous, but it's happened, hasn't it? When we went to the gala ball in May. We go with a couple to this gala ball, and the guy shouts across the table, Lane, have you got your charger with you? I said, yeah. So I actually had this, which is 12 foot long, and I left the charger in my bag, plugged it in, and slung the other end across the dining table to it. This is what it's like when you come out for dinner with the MacBiters. Can't say fairer than that, can you? We have a fabulous time when we're out, I'm telling you. So that was today's unboxing. Only a tiny toy, and I will put the link in the show notes for that. Right, we're taking your questions now. So let's go back to our running order and you will see it is question time. So what questions have you got? What do you want us to cover in the future? And anything else? So come on, let's have a chat. Let's do the chatty thing. What we got planned for next week, Mike? Oh, we're putting the decorations up at some point this week. Who's got the decorations up? We're going to put them up this week and then we'll give you a tour. Now, we've threatened this tour for a long time. This was because, is it 2 years ago? No, it's 3.
3. Dusky peach.
Dusky peach. With a hint of pink. Right, what we did, we had this... would you say conservatory? Using that in the loosest context possible. And before it fell down, we knocked it down. Not personally, obviously. And we had an extension built. And we threatened, it went on and on. We are the idiots that decided to have it done. Graham's doing them tomorrow. Graham, we might be doing it with you. We might have remote...
Not with it.
Not with you, but at the same time, Graham. We could live stream it, why not? We could. We are the idiots that decided to have it done starting the week of Bonfire Night, I think. Was it the last week in October?
Last week in October.
The last week in October. The weather was not conducive, believe you me. And this extension was going on the back of the house where the back door is. So for 30 odd years, we'd stepped out of our back door into a conservatory that all of a sudden vanished. Eventually, and by which I do mean eventually, it was supposed to be finished the first week in December. And it overran a little and a little more and a little more. And eventually they left the building at 4:30 p.m. on Christmas Eve and we just fell into a heap. So we had this bare extension and it was a case of like, thank God that's over. And we went to bed. And it stayed that way for some time, didn't it? As Graham will attest. A couple of years, yeah. Before I did threaten it with paint. And in the summer one year, or was it at Christmas? About 14 months later, I got a brush out and threatened the wall. And it was all far too much work and I put it away. Roll forward about another year. And I said, we're going to have to finish that extension. Well, it's finished. It has paint. It has carpet. It has some furniture. It's got a dining table. It's got a beautiful fire. And tomorrow, or Sunday, it will have Christmas decorations. So what we're going to do next week is go on a live tour of MacBites headquarters. Cannot say fairer than that, can we? Graham, you might want to brace yourself. So that's what we'll do next week. The week after. Oh, this is exciting. The week after, should we tell them? I think Kevin knows, yeah. So we probably should. We're about 8 miles south of Manchester United in Manchester. So we're in the very north tip of leafy Cheshire, but we're very close to Manchester. But if we say Cheshire, it puts them on the house. So we're very, very close to Dunham Massey, which is a National Trust property. And we joined the National Trust in May after I had a fabulous trip to Attingham Park, which is near Telford, if you know that. Loved the house, fabulous. So we joined the National Trust and we go up to Dunham. We've also borrowed some dogs this year. Oh, we've had a fabulous time, haven't we? So when we have a dog with us, we take them walking up Dunham. And Dunham is a beautiful place. It's full of deer. They're amazing, aren't they? They're so tame. These deer just wander up to you, huge antlers. It's so Christmassy. It's unbelievable. So we've done that all year. And we had to book this early, didn't we? I think it was about July. We got this email through saying, we're doing Christmas at Dunham. And we were like, Christmas at Dunham? Oh. And what they do is it's a whole Christmas lights thing and a special Christmas trail through Dunham with lights and trees and entertainment, the whole works. So we booked our tickets in July and we're going a week on Monday, which is the 17th. So what we thought we'd do is take a ton of photos and hopefully a load of video, and we'll show you what Christmas in Dunham's like. So if you're in the UK, that'll be entertaining enough. If you're abroad, you can see how we do it. Now, we've not been before, so we don't know how we do it. We're looking forward to finding out, aren't we, Mike? But there's promises of roast chestnuts and all kinds of things. It'd be fabulous to have a dog as well, wouldn't it? Mind you, I'm not sure if the dogs are allowed in, you know.
We could check.
We'll have to check. We may or may not have a dog. We may or may not be allowed to take said dog in. But we're definitely going to go and see these Christmas lights and stuff. We're going to share them with you. Now, the reason that Kevin knows all about this is Kevin's as crackers about Christmas as I am. So I've had him on standby since July as well, getting just as excited as me. What we're attempting to do, bearing in mind this place is in the middle of absolutely nowhere, is do a live stream. Possibly for O2 permitting. Yes, we're on O2, so we yesterday was entertaining, if a little bit frustrating. So we think Facebook's probably the best way. Sorry about that, but Facebook, it probably just works with live streaming. Whereas to do what we do on YouTube needs a desktop, and I'm not carrying it around Dunham with me. So we'll attempt some kind of live stream, but we have tried this before from Old Trafford, and Old Trafford's basically a Faraday cage. We cannot get out. We're all right if we walk half a mile away from the place, but on the Old Trafford forecourt, we can't broadcast. We think they've actually shut us down deliberately. We just can't do a live broadcast from the forecourt. But we're hoping for better from Dunham. So if you've... Only guide dogs. We'll just have to register Lola as an assistant dog. And if you'd seen Lola, you would know how much that's not going to happen. Or borrow Brearley. Yeah. Or Kirby. I wonder if Kirby's still got his licence for that, because he's retired. We'll have to ask Jane. Well, I say that. He must have a suit, surely, because he's training the other one. Either way, we'll either sneak Lola in or something. We'll come up with a plan. We will. So we're going to try and go live, but whether we do or not, you'll see it here in 2 weeks. We'll have something from Dunham in 2 weeks. So next week, it's our Christmas decorations here and a live tour.
And toasted marshmallows.
Oh, Mike's getting excited now. There's toasted marshmallows and wine. Oh, am I driving then? I'm teetotal. Yes, from the look on his face, yes. I quite might fancy some of those marshmallows. Not to be naughty, but hey. Graham, marshmallows. There's something for you. So in 2 weeks, Graham, you might want some toasted marshmallows to go with the end of the show, because that's what we may have had earlier in the week. So either way, we'll have something to see on the Friday, which is the Friday before Christmas, because that'll be Friday the 21st. So that'll be just before Christmas. Now, what we need from you, either now or via email or on Facebook or on Twitter or anything else, we need to know what you want to see. Now, you see, Curtis told us last time he wanted to see something Affinity designerish. So that's why we took a quick look at the beta. Liking what they've added, want more. So we might have a new beta by next week. You never know. There are other features. So if you want a deeper dive on Affinity Designer and the beta features, or Affinity Photo, what I thought was, which is what you're going to get if you don't tell me, there's a whole new RAW engine in Affinity Photo 1.7 beta. So I thought we could process a really duff shot in RAW and see what we could get out of it. So that's one option, but if you want something different, you're going to have to tell us. I mean, just think, you could either have that or another version of Mike's Surface, another little tour of it.
I
think they've had enough of your Surface and your toy. Another thing I thought of was, I know I have demoed this, but I've never done it in isolation from anything else. I've got a lot of Christmas fonts. It's the season for Christmas fonts.
To be jolly.
To be jolly.
Season to be jolly.
Yes.
Sing.
No, please don't. How to get them installed on your Mac, on a Windows box, and on an iOS device, so you can round trip your designs. So that was another idea I had, but you're going to have to let me know. Otherwise, you'll get what you're given. And you don't want to get what you're given. You want what you want, in which case you're going to have to tell me what it is. So if you could possibly do that, we would be very grateful. So, what questions have we got? We've not got questions. We've just got you saying thank you, which is fabulous, but we want some questions. And give us some feedback over what you want in the coming weeks. Let us know. I can't guarantee what I'll have to unbox next week, but I promise you I will have something to unbox, because I always have something to unbox. I have actually got one thing I haven't even opened yet, Mike. You know about it, it's all right.
Do I?
You do.
Oh, what is it?
I've got some hard drives.
Oh yes.
Yeah, they're over there on the desk. So I have hard drives that we could play with. But you've seen one hard drive,
Drives
you've seen them all.
boring.
Exactly. We need something
You've
exciting.
seen one cable, see them all.
No, because this cable's really pretty. This cable's a nice solid. No, it's metal. The ends are metal and it's solid cable. And it's not often you get a cable that long that you can charge a device on. You see, it's a thicker cable. So these things are important. You could buy a cable, spend exactly the same amount of money on it, and it won't charge anything.
So there you go.
You see, now they're learning about cables. That's
Lessening
fine.
Cables.
Not all cables are equal.
No.
That's why I bought this thing. I got the first one from the market, And the only thing with it was the same length. It was a 12-metre lightning cable. And the reason I got the 12-metre one was I was doing demonstrations of iPads. To do that, I need it plugged in, especially if I'm recording it, because you can record it straight into your recording app as long as it's plugged in. So I got this really long cable and it worked fantastically. But the cable wasn't very flexible. So then I saw there were 3 on Amazon, exactly the same. They were 12 metres, no, not that long. They were 12 foot long, but there was 3 of them for about the price of 1 at the market. So I thought, well, I'll get them and I'll try them. And I tried them and they were so flexible, there was no way I was going to rip the cable out as I was working. So that was why I got these long ones. And I was amazed when they charged, because I've got much shorter cables that will not charge an iPad. And I don't know why. Just finickety iPads. Just finickety iPads. Right, okay, so that's pretty much it for this week. But I do want to hear from you with what you want to know. We will revisit that PowerPoint translator, won't we? When it's live, the full thing in January, and see what it's capable of. What we'll do, because Curtis was interested, and now I've thought about it, Curtis is quite right, and I'm interested. We'll try and broadcast from one machine. We'll do the PowerPoint, and then we'll do the visuals on this machine and see if you can get a real-time translation. I do like a challenge.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we'll do. Absolutely. Okay, what we got here. If possible, would like to see a review on DevonThink. If possible, similar as you did for Affinity Designer. Oh, DevonThink. Love DevonThink. Really love DevonThink. Yep, we could do that. Do you know, I've thought for many years I could do something on DevonThink. And I've shied away from it because it's so extensive. It's like, what on earth do you concentrate on? There's capture, there's finding stuff, organising stuff. I'll do it. I'm going to sit down over Christmas because guess what? Let's really, really get to them. We're just going to rub some salt in the wound. So, don't take this to heart. We finished for Christmas today. We love that at MacBites headquarters, don't we? Now, when we say finished for Christmas today, we have no more work out of office is on. So, yes, we did that. And then I looked at my calendar next week and it was like, where did all these presentations come from? And what's that webinar doing there? So our definition of finished for Christmas is Mike's not going into work anymore. But because it's Christmas, I get to do what I want. So DevonThink wise, that's a really good idea. I've actually just set up DevonThink to take care of my scanning in a situation where my scanner's about 6 years out of Apple's support. So it's on an old system. And what I was doing was manually transferring stuff and it was a nightmare. Then I looked into how it synchronises and I could not get my head around it. I'm like, okay, so you use iCloud, but how? What are you doing? What on earth? And I just could not get my head around it. Then I did and I thought, oh, this is clever. This is really clever. And it's fantastic when it works. So I have set that up and I'm happy to report it is working. I also have a capture system in place for capturing emails straight into DevonThink from a browser. I print them in as PDFs with a script. So I do that in DevonThink. I'm trying to think, what else do I do in DevonThink? I have built solutions in DevonThink where I build up the tag situation and the folder structure. I do that as well. But I could do more. Let's put it like that. I could do more. Yeah, I was doing bills and bank statements, Graham. I must admit I'm a little bit behind. I will admit to being a little bit behind. What happened was when my scanner stopped working on my main Mac, it kind of fragmented the workflow, which is, I mean, that's something that just happens. And it's a matter of, can you put in place a different workflow that's at least as good, but preferably better? So in addition to things like bank statements and bills, I tend to put important emails in there as a PDF for reference. I'm trying to think what. Basically, if I get like a newsletter every week, there's tips and tricks in it, I might put that in there. Not that I delete the email. I just find it easier to search because the DevonThink search is amazing. So yes, I'll sit down and I'll have a look at DevonThink and see how I can do something that would be useful. If you're using DevonThink, are you using DevonThink to go? I bought DevonThink to go when it very first came out, and I tried it and I was a little bit disappointed, I'll be honest. Then a new version came out, and I think that was a free update to what I had. But then they put in an in-app purchase, and I hadn't bothered with this in-app purchase because I thought, well, it does what it does and that's it. But one feature of the in-app purchase was it allows you to download on demand, which means you don't need much space on the iPad. And that's what I bought it for. So I did then get the in-app purchase, and I set up the whole thing in this workflow where every iPad, every iPhone and the desktop uses this system, and it was fabulous. So it has improved greatly. There is talk of the next version of DevonThink coming out sooner rather than later, but I think it's been 7 years since the last one, so their definition of sooner might not align with yours and mine. But if they do, I'm hoping for more functionality in the DevonThink to go version as well. One of the problems I have with it, don't know if you guys have found this, I couldn't find a format in terms of rich text, or Markdown that behaved the same on desktop as it did on iOS. So I had created a rich text format on the desktop, which I could see on iOS, but the minute I went in to edit it, it wiped all the formatting out. And that was bold, italic, underline, nightmare. Nightmare it went. When I got back to the desktop, it had gone. So it converted it to some kind of weirdy format. I did in the end find one format that seemed to work, but it wasn't ideal. Even text didn't seem to look the same on both platforms. So I found that it was fantastic for reference on iOS. One thing I am using it for on iOS is capture. So I actually have DevonThink to go in my tray, my send to tray, and I send bookmarks to it. I send basically anything that I want on my desktop Mac. And what I was doing before was things like, I'll email it to myself, or I'll stick it in Evernote and pick it up later. And the problem with it was the whole thing was just fragmented. So DevonThink has enabled me to pull together a much more cohesive workflow. So Igor, bang on point, bang on time. I've literally just finished doing that. We haven't talked about this yet on MacBites, but I have this year changed, I would say, at least 95% of my entire workflows. I've streamlined, I've cut down on calendars, I've changed apps that I use, and the whole purpose behind it is to trim down on the workflow to make it a better workflow. And we were just discussing it today and saying we could do with going over what you've done on MacBites, because it's actually, you might find it useful because I've got rid of a lot of detritus that you don't really need and it's streamlined it. And part of that was DevonThink, which I have always used since I had a Mac. So 2006, I've been using DevonThink, but not in anger, I wouldn't say. It was more of an archive. It was more of a file system. I'll open DevonThink when I've got a question to ask of it, but it wouldn't be open all day, every day. The way I've got it working now, it is open all day, every day, and it is my main reference. So the one that kind of bit the dust with that was Evernote. Not for any particular reason, because Evernote does capture stuff well. Just for the fact I found it difficult to get stuff into Evernote from iOS. And I thought it'd be nice to have one solution for the desktop that was the same as iOS and the same everywhere else, and that's what I've done. So that's a really, really good call. Can't guarantee it'll be next week. Depends how the concert and stuff goes. I can't wait for the concert, I really can't. Just really how much time we need. We've also got a presentation on Monday to do. So again, if you're in the vicinity, let me know. Come along to our presentation. Oh, yes, you've got to be over 50 to get into our presentation. Obviously, we're mere children and we've got a buy to get in the door. But yes, you've got to be over 50 to get in our presentation. What can I say? It's the local Derby and Joan Club. And if you're from abroad, you may not have heard of the Derby and Joan Club. Graham, would you want to... Tell me what you think. How would you describe the Derby and Joan Club? My sub for Evernote is due in May. And I've got a lot of stuff in there. But one thing I did, don't know if this is relevant to you, Igor, but one thing I did was I read that you could import, that DevonThink imported from Evernote. And I thought, yeah, right, after a fashion. And I set it to do it, just as a test. And instead of setting it to import like one notebook, oh no, this idiot said import the lot. And there was nearly 9,000 notes. So it took probably about 40 minutes, but it did it. And I was actually very impressed with how it did it. So I've now used it as a backup to Evernote. So everything that's in Evernote is now in this particular DevonThink database. And I was very surprised that it did that and that it did it so well. So yes, DevonThink's had a bit of a revival here at MacBites headquarters. I've never attended either, Graham, but that's how I describe it. They're a happy band. It's called the Monday Club because it's on a Monday and they couldn't think of a better name. I'm saying nothing on that. But it's for over 50s. They sit and they have a coffee and they usually have a speaker. So this week, with Mike being off, we're the entertainment. We're the turn. I guess I have, Graham. I've been running Evernote since about 2008, which was when it really took off, I think. And I had DevonThink since 2006. The problem with DevonThink for me was it was the capture, both on the desktop back then, which was way more limited than it is now, and on iOS. The problem I've got with Evernote on iOS, you've got an iPad, haven't you, Graham? Can't remember. Is yours an iPad Air 1? Or did you get another one after that? I'm struggling. I know which iMac you've got. Not sure about iPad. I installed the latest thing and it said it's got a dark theme. I don't care what colour the theme is, but whatever. I installed it and it's using the light theme, but now you can't see the clock. It's just cut off on the left-hand side. And I wonder with Evernote if they're right in the head at times. Now, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I personally would not say that Notion is a clean replacement for Evernote. But we are putting virtually everything we think about in Notion at the moment. Now, it's not a document repository for PDFs and bills. It's not. Oh, the 10-inch one. 10.5, is it? iPad Pro 10.5? It's stuff like, if you think about your Christmas card list, we even stuck that in Notion because we're going to put it in a table and you're going to put next to it, how do you know this person? So family, friends, church, clubs that we're in, we're just going to put that next to it. And it means that we can ask questions of our data, which, yes, you could stick it in Evernote in a table. You could stick it in DevonThink in a table. It's not particularly getting the information in there. They're all pretty good at that. It's what you want to do with that information once you've got it where it's going. I wouldn't personally upload things like PDF bills to Notion. No, I wouldn't. I think DevonThink's perfect for that. But data that I would call live data, virtually everything we've touched in the last 4 weeks, I've said that should probably be in Notion. And Mike's turned around now and said, I'm going to put that in Notion. And what we're doing is building sort of Kanban boards or tables, and it's working fantastically. So we'll probably do a little bit more on Notion. Might do a video about how I'm setting up Notion for the new year. And you might be inspired, who knows? Who knows? It's free for 1,000 items. Although we're going to get the credit card billing for that, aren't we? Because we've just signed up for a paid account. Brace yourselves. Was it 96 each? It was nearly $200, but that's how good it is. We use it, and we'll show you how we put a MacBites together with it. How about that? That's what we'll do. We've taken our MacBites production through half a dozen apps. Honestly, we have. Oh, it's been through everything, hasn't it? Podio, Trello, Wave, Asana, you name it. We've taken our process through it. The last place we were was ZenKit, and ZenKit was pretty good. And I was on the cusp of about to part with cash to them for some of the features that only the premium users got. And I sent them an enquiry about the pricing, never got a reply. So while I'm smarting over the fact I've not had a reply from them, I decided I would test Notion to completely fall in love with it. It's amazing. So if we show you how we use it to put a MacBites together, you should get an idea of what it's capable of. But it's not, the thing is, it's not just for one thing. You could pretty much put anything you like in it. Diaries, all sorts. Oh, do you know a software for desktop publishing on the iPad comparable to InDesign? Not comparable to InDesign, no. There are a couple, but none of them are anywhere near InDesign. There's a couple for the Mac as well, but they're nowhere near InDesign. Even Affinity Publisher, which should be nearer InDesign than it actually is nowhere near InDesign. And I'm thinking of things like grep and text processing. So no, I haven't found anything personally that's anything like that. If I'm forced to work on an iPad for something like layout like that, I just use Pages and be done with it. What I might be tempted to do in the future is use Affinity Designer for the basics and then transfer it to the desktop version of Publisher to finish it off. There is a version of Affinity Publisher coming to the iPad. They do not have an arrival date yet. I wouldn't even like to hazard a year on that. I'd like to say sometime next year. But if it's not within the next 7 months, I think it could be as long as 18. Because the last 2 iOS versions they've brought out of their software have been round about the time of WWDC. And they get a lot of publicity from Apple for doing it. So if they've... I can't see it being next year, I really can't. I think it'll be the year after. I'm basing that on the fact that Affinity Publisher's nowhere near ready yet. Much less the iOS version, but who knows? Hopefully, the more they do, the more they'll be able to. The faster they'll be able to turn it around. Not good for PDF files. They also said it has an offline mode, but not quite true. Must admit, I've not attempted an offline thing. What I've done with PDF files, when I have uploaded a PDF file, I've added it as an attachment in a table. So I've got a table of equipment. And I've got a PDF of instructions for whatever the equipment is. And instead of embedding it with an attempt to read it in Notion, I've added it as an attachment to a table item and then opened the original from there. I have, I'm in a group on Facebook that is for Notion users. And there was somebody on there saying that they'd uploaded a ton of files because there's no limit on what you can upload. And they'd uploaded videos and audio and all kinds of stuff and not been told off for taking too much space. So it's certainly possible to do that with PDF files. But I agree with you. I think it would be a lot of work to make it work. It's not inherently perfect for that. No, it's not. And I will try the offline mode. I've not tried that myself. No, at one point they said they don't like Affinity to say it's coming, because the minute they say it's coming, it's when's it coming, when are we getting there? But they have officially said it is coming to the iPad. It's just a matter of when. My best guesstimate would be sometime in the next 18 months, which obviously feels like an eternity when you're waiting for it, but it is coming to iPad. It absolutely is. I mentioned Pages. Pages has a layout mode-y thing with it, Apple Pages, and I just use that. For most things, I can get away with it if it's sort of a poster or stuff like that. I mean, I'll give you a true story. Graham, you've heard this, and Graham, I wasn't happy, was I? I was out for the day, not far from home, just too far to get back. You know, you're somewhere where you've parked and you do not want to move the car. If you do, you will have to walk back. And I got approached with, okay, you've done these 57 posters. We need one more. And I thought, oh. And I'd done them, I think, in Affinity Designer, which at the time wasn't on iPad. And the computer that this venue had was a PC. So I thought, well, that's not happening, is it? And I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll log in to my iCloud account and I'll do it in Pages because I hadn't taken my iPad with me. That won't happen again, believe me. So I got on the PC and I got in a browser and I put in iCloud and I came to get in. And I've got two-factor turned on. So I thought, fair enough, I'm sat here with my phone. I had two phones with me. And it said, we've sent the code to your devices and nothing came through. So I went back and said, please send it again. And it said, we've sent it. 4 attempts later, I'd got nothing and I couldn't log in. So I thought, well, what am I supposed to do now? So quick as a flash, I thought, right, I know what I need to do. I logged into OneDrive. I made a Word document in OneDrive and I did my poster in Word. Like an animal. It was probably one of the worst experiences I'd ever had making any kind of poster. But it just proves you can do it in an absolute emergency. So I think on an iPad, I would have preferred to use Pages. Pages is better for layout, and that's what I would have done with it. I'd actually have to have a good think and see what was available for DTP on an iPad. There's a couple of additional vector apps. There's, what was the one that was called Graphic? Is it called Graphic now? It used to be called iDraw. I think it's called Autodesk Graphic now. And that's a vector app. It's not true DTP, but it could do a poster. So it depends on, if it's a long, if it's InDesign you want, no. But if you want a poster or a 2 or 3 page document, it could probably do it. But I would say if it's a 2 or 3 page document, do it in Affinity Designer and be done. But there is that one, and there was another one, the name of which escapes me. But they were both vector apps. They weren't DTP. They didn't profess to be. And even if they were, they would not be InDesign. So that's what I would do with that. It would have worked great for me if I could have got past the 2-factor. The caveat to that, well, not caveat, the postscript to that story is, when I got home from said event, every Mac and every iPad in the house had had 4 messages with codes to get me into my own account. Just not the one I had with me. I think Apple knew. I'm pretty confident Apple knew that. What can I say? I'm not a fan of 2-factor. That is why I am not a fan of 2-factor. I don't know if you can actually turn that on OneDrive, but even if you can, not happening. Can honestly say not happening. It'd be nice if Apple would send it to that Authenticator app. Is it Google Authenticator? You know, the app that receives the code, as if it's a text, that. But probably not. Probably not. Okay, so we'll definitely look at that in an upcoming show. But we're going to head off, get something to eat, which is a tradition here at the After Hours. Now, today we have, what do we have?
Fruit.
We have another fresh fruit salad. We went out last night. Fantastic meal, Christmas meal. Beautiful starter, wasn't it?
It was.
The starter was, remind me. Oh, it was that dog food thing, which doesn't sound fabulous, I'll grant you, but it was. It was pretty decent.
Dog food.
Ham hock. Yeah. Ham hock was what it was, but it was very nice. The main course was turkey, but it was a turkey parcel wrapped around some sage stuffing, so that was beautiful. And then dessert arrived, which was supposed to be a fruit salad. It was not a fruit salad. It was chunks of melon that looked as though it had been there for a week. At which point, Mike took it back and swapped it for an apple for me.
I didn't take it back.
Oh no, you left it on the table, didn't you? Yeah, but nobody ate it.
No, not even me.
No, if that had been another mince pie, they would. But no, we looked at it and thought, yo, not having that. Now look at this. Graham's already had a mince pie and 3 Jaffa cakes. I'm going to get a gluten-free mince pie, Graham, and I might live stream it at one of the future After Hours before Christmas. I'll show you what a gluten-free mince pie looks like.
It looks like a mince pie without the gluten.
Yes, but it's not that simple. Because gluten-free pastry kind of... Yeah. But these aren't bad. So we might have that with some apple saucy thing and cream. So might go for a cardiac arrest on a plate, Graham. But we will show you that. We'll show you what that actually looks like. Completely new to iPad. Oh, we could keep you going for hours with iPad stuff. We love our iPad stuff here. Which iPad have you got? There's a question. Which iPad have you got? Is that actually balancing it, Graham, or is that being just twice as bad? Our fruit salad will have strawberry in. It will have grapes in. We have red and black grapes. What else do we put with it? And an apple and a banana. Used to have blueberries and raspberries, but they just don't last well in the autumn, do they? They're basically walking within the day. So that's all we've got in it at the moment. But we will be having our favourite nuts with it, which are cashew nuts. Absolutely adore cashew nuts. Buy them by the barrowful, don't we? She said guiltily, because they're not cheap, but they're very, very nice. So just waiting to hear about the iPad. Ooh, 12.9-inch Pro. I've got two 12.9-inch Pros, Rev 1 and Rev 2. For Rev 3, I got the 11-inch. So I like the look of the 12.9, but I decided I could probably wait for the next one. So I went for the 11. I went for the 11 on the basis that I loved my 10.5. And it was only a little bit bigger, but it wasn't actually any bigger in terms of the footprint. So I thought I would love that one. I'd probably use it more. I do use the big 12.9 one on occasions, but it isn't the one I would choose to take out with me. I would take out the smaller one. So that's why I went for the 11-inch. And I'm loving it. I am loving it. But who knows next time? I've got visions. I'll just put this out there because it's something I'd like. If they can make a 12.9 and it be smaller than the original 12.9, why not make a 17-inch iPad? Now, before you fall off the chair laughing, think it through. We used to have a 17-inch MacBook Pro. I had one. I loved it. It just weighed about 5 stone. But if you had a 17-inch iPad, you could use it as an external monitor, a very nice keyboard on it. And why not? If it's not got much of a bezel on it, it wouldn't be prohibitively large, but it'd be fabulous for illustration and stuff. So I'll just leave that there and let Apple have a think about it. Don't mind them taking that idea and running with it on their own. I had a Wacom 2, had that for a while, never got really used to it. I could use it for illustration, but I know some people use it as a control surface for their computer. I never got round to it like that. And I found it was a definite skill to look at the screen but move your hand on the iPad. So you're not looking at what your hand is doing. Whereas obviously on the iPad you can see the pair. And to me that was a whole lot better. There is a device, isn't there, that lets you do for, what's it called? Oh, Luna. Is it Luna? It's a device that you plug in and you can use your iPad as a control surface. You can also use Active something or other, the one I use, as a control surface, and that's pretty good too. But it's nice to be able to look where your fingers are rather than gaze one way and do something the other. It means you could be fantastic at drawing that way, but then you can't draw normal, or vice versa. So, an iPad much better. I would buy a 17-inch in a heartbeat. So, I'm just hoping, knowing Apple, they'll bring out a 15-inch first and then a 17, and by then we'll all have about 20 of them. I looked at Cintiqs, but they were just far too expensive for me. If I'd have been a permanent illustrator or something, I would probably have done it. But it was more important to me that the kit that I bought was more generic than that and that I could use it for multiple things because I do multiple things. If I'd have had a Cintiq, I wouldn't have been using that during webinars and stuff like that. So I went for an extra monitor. So I've got 3 monitors set up, but I can also hang 2 iPads off it if I want and make it 5. So I went for more generic stuff than that. I'm certainly not a professional illustrator. We actually had this thing where we were asked to draw something and Mike and I looked at each other with like blind horror. Like, what? With a pencil. And I looked at this blank piece of paper with a pencil in my hand and I whispered to Mike, I could do it on an iPad, but there's no way I could look at a blank piece of paper and draw much more than a stick man. And in this case, it was a stick sheep, wasn't it? Yeah, it looked nothing like a sheep. In fact, it was cruel, wasn't it, to sheep? I'll have to draw something else or make a stick man with 4 legs. No, I'm not brilliant at that. I'm good at creating art rather than actually drawing it. I can take shapes and stuff and put them together. That's where my skill set is, but not actually in drawing. I don't claim to be a fabulous drawer. Having said that, when I got Pencil 1, I bought Pencil 1 and the first thing I did was sit down in an app, can't remember which one, and I worked from a photograph of Maya He was our dog, Samoyed. And I kind of drew him. And then I tweeted it out and I said, what do you think? Do you recognise it as being a dog? If you think it's a dog, I'm doing well.
It had 4 legs.
No, it didn't. It was just his head and his ears and his fur around his chest. But people came back and said, wow, love it. And I thought, that's pretty amazing. But I couldn't do it without a reference photo. No way. I am no great artist. But hey, my skill set's in other areas, isn't it, Mike? Like setting up your remote desktop on your Surface.
Yes.
Just throw that in there. He needed IP looking after. He was fiddling with his gateways, weren't he? Shall I put the gateway in? He said. Yes, I said. And he comes back. It's not working, he said. So I looked at the settings and he put the default gateway in and there was a checkbox underneath that said ignore. And I said, you put the gateway in? He said, yeah. I said, you see the checkbox underneath? And he went, oh, right. You're not into networking, are you?
No, but you're not into washing, are you?
No, I'm not. No, those big white boxes that dirty clothes go in and clean ones come out. Not a clue how they work. Don't care. Not bothered. Right, okay, well, we've got plenty of ideas for next week. My job this week is to sit down and think how best to do that. If you think of anything in the week, let us know. You can always get us on Facebook, Twitter, or MacBites.co.uk. There's a contact form on there. Put your thoughts in, queries, questions, things you'd like to see, and let us know. We will be back here next week, 9 o'clock, with the Christmas tour of MacBites headquarters. You don't want to miss that. You absolutely don't want to miss that. We may even have a dog. Not saying we will. Bit early, but we might. We adore dogs. We just don't have one of our own anymore. So if we have, you'll get to see the dog as well. Other than that, you'll finally get to see the extension, which took me 2.5 years to paint. So think of it as the Sistine Chapel in white emulsion. I know, that's ruined it for you, hasn't it? The white emulsion that did it. But it's a work of art, and I did it with my own fair hand. So that's what we're going to do next week. So, as I said, it's good night from me.
It's good night from me.
And we'll both see you next time. Good night, guys. Great to be with you tonight. Always a good chat. And good night.